Report. We're called upon one of the strangest things in existence.
Neil Armstrong may have seen extraterrestrials on the moon.
When he spies a discernible shape.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
You can deny all the things I've seen, all the things I've discovered, but not for much longer. Because too many others know what's happening out there. And no one, no government agency has jurisdiction over the truth.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Full Spectrum Universe. Man, oh man, I got a show for you guys today. Let me tell you, it is going to be fantastic. I've got a great guest, somebody who I've actually had conversations with before. She's so on top of her stuff. She's so amazing, and she's got so many things going on. She is the executive producer and case lead for the new upcoming show, Possession Files, where she helps cases dealing with demonic possession. She also is the filming and executive producer of a new show, Destination Creatures, which is 3 paranormal investigators set out on a journey. She is the owner of the Haunted Psychomantium, the Haunted Museum. She is the creator and founder of Texas Paracon and Texas Para Unity. She is an acclaimed author. She is a ufologist. If you don't know who she is, by all the traits that I've said so far, you have been living under a rock for the last year, for sure. So we're going to educate you tonight. So at this time, I'm going to tell everybody, get your coffee, get all the things together, get on that spaceship. All right, now we're going to travel right over to my universe. We're out of your universe, and now we're over into the Full Spectrum universe. So with that being said, we're going to bring in our guest tonight. Her name is Natalie Jones. So everybody say hello to Natalie Jones. Hello, Natalie. How are you?
Hi, Rob. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm so excited.
Oh, it's going to be amazing, an amazing episode. I'm telling you right now, there's an electricity that has been happening all week, basically crescendoing at this moment right here in this specific interview. It's going to be fantastic. You have such an amazing story leading up to where you are now and all the accomplishments and achievements that you've put in front of yourself and tackled. It's truly amazing. It's truly admirable. So why don't you say hello to the people, and let's start with a little bit of the beginning of how your story begins, the first encounters you had with, let's say, supernatural, paranormal.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into that, I completely agree with you. This week has just been supercharged with electricity. I have been really excited about this interview specifically, and it's just been leading up to this moment. It's definitely been supercharged. So it's going to be a blast tonight. And everybody, thank you again for having me and for watching. So,
fantastic.
Yeah, I've been having experiences since I was a child in the paranormal. Actually, about a few months ago, I had a childhood friend that I hadn't spoke to in years reach out to me, and she said, I'm not surprised that you're doing everything that you're doing. I've been following you for a while now, and she reminded me about all these paranormal experiences that I would tell her about when we were kids and all of that too. So, but I've always known that there was something more going on that was unseen. I could feel it. And when I was about 6 years old, and I go into this account in my book, Awaken the Higher Self, Bringing Darkness to Light as well. But when I was a child, I had a pretty intense experience where I saw Satan in his true form laughing at me. And I thought that I was awake, but I wasn't. And when you're in that that spiritual state of being in your light body, you have a general understanding, like a telepathic sense, awareness of exactly what's going on around you. No conversation has to be had. No one has to say anything. You just know exactly who, what, when, why, where, and how. And it was a pretty traumatic experience for me at that time, as a child. And I actually filed it away for a long time. I think, your autonomic nervous system and everything, comes into play, and it's that fight or flight type of thing. And you just subconsciously, in order to deal with an experience like that, it's just not something that you continue to think about every day, especially as a child. I went on with my life, but at the same time, I still continue to have different types of experiences. At one point, I did see a spirit, which I know now was a spirit, but at the time, as you and I are sitting here right now, I was at my dinner table with my family, and no one else saw it, and it just walked by. It was very tall, very thin, and it was wearing like this light mint green clothing. And I briefly saw this being, this person, and it was so tall, it almost reached the ceiling. So, and we probably, I don't know how tall the ceilings were, just your standard height ceiling, but leading up to these types of experiences, another thing is that if you go back, most of us, you can pinpoint a childhood memory. And I say this to everybody, in that what I've learned is that though you may not have had a conscious awareness at the time, it is a direct indication of who you are, and as a spiritual being, and who you are in your life work and all of that. And I think that it's not necessarily the experience that brought you to that place of being that person. It's actually the other way around. You actually had that experience because of who you are, because what is, what was, and what will be, time is just a construct, and it's, it all is the same, and everything is energy. So if you think about it, like, if everything is energy, and energy can neither be created nor destroyed, then you can either take existing matter and reorganize it into other matter, or energy can be converted into matter. And that's who we are. We're light beings. We're made of energy, and we're in a body to have an experience. And so our spirit and our energy and who we are is infinite and eternal. It's never changed. So in a sense, this path chose me. I did not choose it. And I've actually been told multiple different times by different people that I have lived multiple past lives, many, in the same capacity as a healing facilitator, which makes a lot of sense, because it's as if it's a part of my spiritual DNA. It's just who I am. And I'm in my element when I'm working on residential cases where I'm dealing with dark forces, dark unseen forces. So that's just basically, how I've come to this point. And when when you know who you are, and you finally come to an understanding and that awakening, there's no turning back. You either go with your life purpose and your soul mission and what it is that you're here for in the experience, to help others, because we're all connected in that oneness, in that consciousness field, in that one energy. And when you have that awareness and you know who you are, there's no turning back. And for me, I am all or nothing. I'm very driven, and I have this passion, this burning passion in me that is just there. It's for the purpose of truly helping others and unseen forces, and spreading this knowledge so that it can be implemented as wisdom for the higher good for the greater good, for the collective. And I know that the more and more that people awaken, that we can start to see a bigger shift in our energy as humanity, as a globe, for Mother Earth, for ourselves, in our consciousness, and having that shift to an ascension, higher vibrational energy, and really overcoming the lower vibrational energy and the dark forces that are out there, and becoming more of a place where we can all have and become beings of unconditional love. So that's just the journey that I'm on. I regularly have intuition downloads and messages that will come through in hypnagogic state of consciousness that will help me to continue forward in the direction that I'm going, and the direction that I should be going. Because another thing is that I always pray that my will be one with the will of God and what I'm supposed to do. And so everything that I am doing is just to continue forward on a path in order to reach as many people as possible, and to spread my experience and my knowledge in order to help in any possible way that I can with these unseen dark forces that though we cannot see them, they are very real.
Absolutely. I mean, it's strange to go over this, but a lot of people don't realize that, right? As of right now, there is a war, and what it takes is everybody has their own spiritual journey to where they get to, in a sense of the things and the obstacles that they all have to overcome to get to that place where your vibration raises. It's not easy for everybody. Some people have different obstacles. You encounter the low vibration at a low age with these dark entities. Not that you were at a low vibration, but you encountered what that vibration is, or what that entity was posing. You can call it an entity, you can call it a vibrational dark energy, whatever it may be. And it's wild to see that in the very beginning, you had this construct that kind of probably made you fearful in seeing these things, but it brought you to a place when you get towards the end of the story where, of your upbringing, where you're a light being and you're doing the work of the light and helping reach people and raising people's energies. So you basically, you're helping humanity not be sacrificed to this dark energy. And that it's extraordinary. I personally have had my own journey, and I started waking up probably about 8 years ago, but it was more of a conspiracy level and doing research. It wasn't so much on a spiritual level. It was just me kind of poking and prodding at, basically at the cusp of what would be, and it brought me down rabbit holes that were very, very dark. And one of the things that, I want to tell people as well is, if you stare into the abyss too long, it will envelop you. You have to protect yourself, which is one thing I'm sure Natalie does. And she stared into the abyss at a very young age. Seeing that dark side is the abyss. It's hard. It's hard to overcome that. But, it's amazing that a lot of people who go through that at a young age like you do become emotionally challenged when it gets later in life, with certain things. But you're succeeding so much and you're winning a lot. It's such a great thing to see. It's inspiring for me because, I know we're going to talk about, Texas Paracon later and how amazing that is. But this is a huge event. This is a huge event. And I'm sure it took a lot of work to get there, and a lot of work to put into it. So, another thing I want to ask you too is, do you ever have time for yourself? You have so much going on that you never, ever, it seems like you could never have a moment to spare to sleep or sit, maybe just drink a coffee. Like, you really don't.
Yeah. Well, I just to touch a little bit on what you were saying, as well as in my awakening too, I came to an understanding and realized why I had that experience as well. Was that he was trying to instill in me at the moment that he knew I would have a conscious memory, the type of fear that may deviate me from my life purpose and soul mission. But on the other token of that, you know, if I would say this on the other token of that, when something happens, also it's because it was allowed to happen and there's a purpose for it. And that's a big part of this, you know, this third dimension and this experience and the duality that we exist in order to help our spirit grow. You know, we could not know love if we did not know hate. You know, we cannot know joy and all of that if we did not know despair, and vice versa. And so it's about not internalizing the negativity, but learning from it and growing, having that spiritual growth. And that's the purpose behind it. And that experience, excuse me, that experience, and truly, you know, like I said, spreading that kindness and that love, and learning how to become a being of unconditional love. But yeah, I mean, I'm constantly thinking about what I can do to help. I, you know, have cases that I take on behind the scenes and helping people, you know, okay, so we only have so much time in one day, or what we perceive it to be. And, you know, I have a lot of different projects going on, but I still somehow make time for my daily meditation. I get a full night's rest, and I do what I can do in that day, and then I just continue on the next day. And I think that, you know, that's what we all do. We all do our best to just do the very best that we can do every day. And that's really great. But yeah, I've thought a couple of times, well, how in the world did I get all this done? So I've also thought as well, it's like if I had 1 or 2 clones, that would be really cool, because then they would know exactly what to do. I wouldn't even have to tell them what to do. They would just know what to do. And then I could get, like, you know, 10 times the amount of stuff done that I get done now. So, but nope, it's just me. Yeah.
You and me both. I mean, there's so many things that I have to do between research and, you know, helping some of I'm also a part of another network, and I help them a lot with their behind the scenes stuff. So I'm on 3 shows a week, including this one. It's just, it is wild. It is truly, there is no time for anything. And one of the great things that I love about your story too, is that there's an element of ufology into it. And I personally, I mean, I'm a researcher, but ufology was sort of how I got into this side of you know, of paranormal and supernatural. So I think that it's so incredibly awesome, you know, and if you want to explain that a little bit as well.
Well, I mean, everything is interconnected. Everything. You know, there's so many different types of beings. There's so many different types of entities. You have different interdimensional beings, transdimensional beings, extra-dimensional, multidimensional beings. And as a part of what I do as a dark energy healing facilitator, it's very important to understand the universe that we live in and the different types of species and how all of that fits in with one another. And what I have understood and concluded is that there really are only 2 general categories of beings, malevolent and benevolent. And I can explain that a little bit further in that, for example, the work of Dr. Louis Turry, Dr. Stephen Greer, there's other ufologists and astrophysicists, and those who are experiencers. I'm an experiencer as well. And those who have really gone into this a little bit deeper have all concluded the same thing. And it makes sense. I mean, you have dark energy and you have light energy. There's opposition in all things. You know, and when you start to put everything into perspective, then now, you know, someone may say, well, that doesn't make any sense to me because, you know, I'm a good person, but we all make mistakes. That's not what I'm talking about. It's not what I'm talking about. We're here in the 3rd dimension in a body in order to help grow our spirit, and we're dealing with dark forces. And when the ego takes over, then we're not operating out of our true inner self, our true spirit, which is a being of unconditional love and light body. So that is a completely different subject. So what I'm referring to is that in the universe in general, you have those 2 general categories. You have benevolent generally benevolent races and you have generally malevolent races. And this goes all the way back to ancient times. And, when we can start to understand that we're all one in the same consciousness, then we can start to not have that feeling of separation or, being judgmental or having those lower vibrational energies that, really hinder us from connecting with everything around us. Because when you're in that state of being, in a state of fear, then you're automatically in separation from everything. You're living in your past and you're not in the present moment and connected to the consciousness field and having that elevated heart center and emotions in order to connect to that and feel everything. And that's what they do in remote viewing. It's the same concept. And so when we're able to, take that into perspective as a dark energy healing facilitator for myself, I've really delved very deep into understanding and learning dark energy. It's helped me to become an even stronger, light worker. And I just have this this understanding that those different types of beings. So, with interdimensional beings, that would be a being that's in light body form or dark body. So they're interdimensional. And when we, for example, we see stuck spirits, they're stuck here in the third dimension, but they're also interdimensional because of the energy state that they're in. And then with transdimensional beings, we're talking about physical beings. Those different types of species and races who have per se ascended. They're able to. They've raised their vibrational energy as collective so much that they're able to travel at the speed of thought. And they have these different technologies where they're able to go from point A to point B and transcend linear time. They've also been around many, many more millions of years that we have. We're actually, if you go back and you study where we come from, in a sense, we're extraterrestrial as well. We were not the first ones that were here. So it's a whole rabbit hole. And all I know is that there's two types of general categories. You have malevolent races and benevolent races. And it's important that we have this information so that we can continue to take charge of our salvation and our free will as a whole and become more benevolent and raise our vibrational energy and honor who we really are as beings of light and our true inner self, and not let the ego and the dark force take over. And the battle rages on. But again, it's up to us to awaken and as a collective and really start doing the work.
Well, absolutely. And I want to go back to something you said, that there's two types, such as like the duality of man. If we go back to it, it's sort of a microcosm, but it's actually a macrocosm because we're the microcosm of that specific time, of that yin and yang, or good and evil, or the duality of man. Like you said, there's conscious, subconscious. There's the stars as well. And the stars, there's regular matter and antimatter, dark matter, light matter. It's everywhere. It's a full circle. And, that's one of the things that fascinates me, is that you can find similarities in everything. And that's that duality. Just like, and it's funny you talk about the ego. There's love and then there's hate. It's in everything that we do, there is that duality, which is so incredible. And to put your finger on that and bring that into the paranormal as well, or even into, ufology and everything else, it sort of unites everything under the same banner, which I know that, I know that there is like your theory is, so like the last time we spoke, I think you said that, even extraterrestrials are of the paranormal, correct? There's something of that line, that the paranormal entities and
Yeah. Like when we say the word paranormal, a lot of people think of just about like spirits and demons. But no, the paranormal is a big umbrella. And under that umbrella is everything. Elementals, extraterrestrials, cryptids, everything. I mean, it's all interconnected. It's all paranormal.
That's awesome. I know you have some. I know you do a little bit with the cryptids too, right? There's some stuff you do with cryptids as well. I mean, you are all over. You're everywhere. If it's paranormal, you're on top of it. I know that for a fact. It's wild. I mean, I wish I had all that energy to do that, but there's another show on this network with the Goose and Heisenberg, and they I think it's Cryptid Paranormal, and they are that's their logo is a cryptid. It's really wild. It's really great show too. If anybody's listening, they should really check it out. Those guys are phenomenal. They're really in depth. They do in depth dives on everything. So, but I mean, yeah, tell us a little bit more about this cryptid side that you know about. I mean, I personally think that Bigfoot is a dimensional being. That's why it's so easily back and forth. You see it, you don't. It just slips through to the next dimension. But go ahead. I'll let you talk about it for a moment.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting, isn't it? That there's a lot of sightings around the same areas where there's extraterrestrial sightings, almost as if that's where portals are located. The portals are the energy centers of the earth where the the energy is amplified in order for whenever that interdimensional travel occurs. Then that's where these openings are, wormholes. There's different names for jump gates. So it's interesting that a lot of theories have been formed around that, because there are many sightings around. And again, it's also very interesting that a lot of these sightings are like in national parks, a lot of areas where there's a lot of different government-like activity as well. And so it really brings up a lot of questions. But for me, I mean, I've always had a really big passion for Bigfoot specifically, since I was a child. I mean, I grew up going Bigfoot hunting with my mom and my stepdad. They were always like, you got to have a really good Bigfoot call, and the tree knock, and it was always something that like really interested me. And I've always thought, wouldn't that be cool if I actually one day like really full on discovered Bigfoot and proved that the existence of this creature is real. To me, I have no doubts that Bigfoot exists. You can't have this many people sightings and there not be some truth to it. That's just not the way that this works.
Agreed.
So, we've got to have another thing here is that we've got to have an open mind. I feel like the more open-minded that we can all be, really the entire cosmic consciousness and code is unfolded within all of us. And the more connected we are to spirit and all of that, and regularly meditating and being able to connect to that and remote view and everything, that's where the real information is truly downloaded and uncovered. And we all have the same abilities, just some are more in sync and in tune than others. I liken it to like a radio station. When you're flipping through the channels, some are static, and when you get to a really clear channel, that's when you're able to hear and see the messages come through. When they're static, or when we have things going on in our life where we're disconnected or we don't believe in something, then it's just going to be a bunch of static, and that's fine. Everyone comes to the table at their own time, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the truth always comes out. And a lot of us are in a place where we can be a little bit more open-minded and have had experiences, and that's why we do what we do. But also the other side of that is that disclosure is very close as well. Just this year, June 2020, you had the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force that was formed by the Senate Select Committee. And now there's a UAP task force, and people hear about it, and then it's like, okay, cool, but what does that really mean? The term, we put terms on a lot of things as well, and that's why I just don't even, different people are going to call different things the same thing or different things, and we're talking about the same thing, and it's all a big conundrum. So when we get into discussions as well, I think it's really important not only to be open-minded, but to understand and communicate what the other person is really saying. Because, for example, like ufologists, right?
Mm-hmm.
So say, well, that's been doing extraterrestrial research and UFO research for a really long time. They would say, well, why would you call yourself a ufologist? Because that's not really like a credible term. Well, that's an opinion, right? But see, this is my point. So UFO stands for unidentified flying object. But the problem with that term is that number one, you've got unidentified and flying, and then object. Well, object is really the only truthful word in that phrase, because they are identified and they don't fly in the general sense that we consider flying. There's a force field underneath these objects, which allows them to move at the rapid rate that they do and the speed that they do. But then they also have, different materials that allow them to go from point A to point B, and have the interdimensional ability and qualities to them. And so, they came up with unidentified aerial phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, that's great and all, but they're still unidentified. They are identified. So let's just call them identified aerial phenomena. Now we have IAPs, and then I think then we're going to go, because aerial and phenomena, I guess, those two terms work. But I always laugh because it's like, well, what do we call ourselves? I think, a ufologist is a great term, because that's a term that most people can relate to. Oh, okay, so you are into learning and researching extraterrestrial life, the existence of it, and these unidentified flying objects that have been reported. Well, then it's, for me, goes into, I could probably talk about this until about 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Oh, me too. I got a story for you too.
Well,
for people, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off. I got a good story.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me. So now that they formed the UAP task force, well, then you had these videos that have been out now for a few years, and then there's a platform called To the Stars Academy. That's another whole subject on itself as well, which ties into a different aspect of all of this. But they had on for a while what they called the vault on their website, and they actually had these videos that this past year, when the Pentagon came out and confirmed the legitimacy of these declassified videos of these UAPs, and that's when people really heard about it, because everything is controlled by the media, these private corporations, and top triple top secret unacknowledged special access projects, and the deep level secrecy that goes on. These are all controlled by 6 or 7 major private corporations alongside these people that are really out there with an agenda. And so you got to understand that the media outlets that we watch, I don't watch the media unless I know it's not controlled, because it's just a bunch of ridiculousness, and mind control, and trying to get people to think a certain way or believe something. And I think that we've seen a lot of this past year, as just to the deep, if you can make your own assessment and realize that the numbers that were being conveyed were not truthful. There's just a whole other thing that's not okay. So with the, you got the media that's in on this, and with the vault and the TTSA and those videos, they were there. They've been there, and it was, not until they decided that they wanted to come out and, confirm, then people thought that they were hearing it for the first time. But this has been going on. It's right under our noses. It's just that most people just want to do their day-to-day life and turn a blind eye to what's really going on. I think a part of awakening is a really neat thing, because you start to see things at a higher perspective, and you're connected to spirit, and you start to question, and you can tell when something's not right. And they do not want, the mass population to start awakening, because in doing so, that would completely thwart the agenda that does exist. So, that's just basic. But with the TTSA and, the UAP task force and the Pentagon confirming those videos, I mean, we're starting to see a little bit of recognition that there's something more going on, but, they're not full on coming out, though they know exactly what's going on. And there is a secret space program, and there's a lot of dealings and information that I think that most people would just, their jaw would drop to the floor, and their eyebrows would hit the ceiling. And I think also in getting away with this, sometimes the the lie makes sense, and the truth is just so outlandish that it makes sense to believe the lie, or you're going against everything that we've ever been taught and programmed to in the way of life to, live and believe. And I think, as a general population, most people are not ready for that. I mean, we've seen that in this past year with certain things that have happened. And, some people may not agree with me, and I respect that. But, I also have an understanding of certain things, and I'm just speaking the truth.
Well, absolutely. I mean, everybody has their truth, and nobody should demote anybody for their truth. And my story goes back because, like I always tell everybody, I'm a historian first. That's what started me as history. So if we go back into the UFO phenomena, first off, it started way back when, even during Roman times. They have paintings, Leonardo da Vinci, all that. So right after World War II in 1958, the United Nations came together, and there was a Burmese, he was like the representative for Burmese to the United Nations, or Burma. And then what he did was, I forget his name off the top of my head, but he knew that UFOs were real. His wife had encountered one. So he went into the United Nations and said, we need a task force. So what he did was, there's a process. You have to make a presentation. You have to get basically make a commercial where they can view it. They have paperwork. So he got this guy from Hollywood. They had a couple of nations sponsor them for this specific thing. And right before they actually enact this specific group or task force to do the research to find UFOs, they drop it. So come again in 1967, they do this again, except it was, and they never figured out the reasons why that in 1958 it was just dropped. So it was kind of like a conspiracy thing. It's like a conspiratorial thing. They never knew why. The guy just dropped the subject. It was over, just like that. So they did it again in 1968, and this time, it was 72. It was maybe even a little later than that. But they got Steven Spielberg involved, who did Closer Encounters of the Third Kind. They got somebody else who was doing this type of presentation for them. They got backed by a astrophysicist in the United States, and the lead on that was Grenada. And it was the Prime Minister of Grenada was going to the UN saying, this stuff needs to come out. We need to do this. what happens? Grenada is taken over by a revolt in the country 3 days before they give their presentation. And that was actually backed by Rothschild money. We won't go into the conspiracies of that, but they were halting it from coming out. They were doing things to stop it. The astrophysicist from America who backed it went back home, worked at a college, got ostracized from the community, later on lost his wife, later on lost his job, later on ended up killing himself because they ostracized him so bad. So this is a pattern. And what people are looking at is they're saying, well, what kind of disclosure are we going to get with this time? Is it going to be soft? Is it going to be hard? Are they going to give us everything? Are they going to tell us what's at Area 51? My bet is that they're not going to disclose as much as we would like them to. But think about it this way, too. It's statistically impossible that we're the only living creatures on a planet with billions of planets out there as well. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy that we would even think that. So you have a team, ghost hunter girls, correct?
Yes.
Tell us about your team and tell us about some of the investigations that you went on.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So with, just really quick to touch on what you just said as well, that is it's a pattern. And for myself, I have experienced things. I do CE5 protocols and CE5 meditation in order to make peaceful contact. And I know that there are other beings and extraterrestrials that do exist. And also, along with everything else that I was saying, I recently had quite an experience that really rocked my world, and I'm still giving it some time to see exactly what's going on with it. But I'm sitting on bombshell information that that I'm just going to keep to myself until I figure out what to do with it. And the only reason why I say that is because it reminds me of the story that you just said, and this person, and then they were ostracized. But at the same time, it goes back to the fact that the lie makes more sense than the truth. So not only the game plan is not only would, in a situation like this, not only would it be denied or people not believe that it was true, but then who knows what else might come from it, and I think no matter what I do, even like when it comes to paranormal investigations or in anything that I do, to me, I think safety is first. Being intelligent about information that we come across and knowing exactly, when it falls into your lap, when the time is right, if it ever is right. And I also know that when something happens, it's absolute, that nothing is coincidence. And there's a reason why certain things happen to certain people. There's a reason why certain information comes to certain people. You don't make history. History makes you. Everything's predetermined. Everything's preset for the most part. There's a bigger picture and a bigger plan here. And if there's anything that I've learned over the years, it's that it's really important to go about something most efficiently and effectively. And, if there's anyone out there that's, listening to this and they're experiencing something that, they're having a hard time with, you're more than welcome to reach out to myself or Rob directly. And, we're here to help. We're here to really bring things into perspective and just let you know that you're not alone. These things that are going on are just
incredible. I mean,
it's incredible, but it's also scary.
I understand you have your process too, and not giving those things out. There is a process that goes with that. I have friends that are, I mean, since doing this show, I've gained a lot of friends, not to cut you off, that have given me certain intel. And I mean, it goes all the way up. There's certain things that you just can't disclose in a public forum.
Right.
You know, that just, it may either incriminate you or it may, you know, make you look like something that maybe you're not.
Right.
When really it's just, that's just, people out there have to understand this is what we do.
Yeah.
We delve through this information. We sift through it to figure out what's what. And we're super open-minded to whatever you're going to say. So yeah, if there's anybody out there, you can always message us and let us know. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting, and it makes you wonder, you know, what's really going on. Why is this information being conveyed to me? Because another thing that I've learned also is that nothing is ever as it really seems. There's a lot of manipulation and deceit that we deal with in this world. So, you know, that's why I keep my circle very, very close. My circle pretty much consists of me, myself, and I at this point, because it's just the way of life, and then just spreading that unconditional love and truly helping others and having compassion and spreading this type of higher knowledge. You know, we have a responsibility in doing so, and that's just, you know, it may be a lonely road, but at the same time, for me, it's not lonely because I, you know, have a really great relationship with Christ and God, and at the end of the day, that's really all I need.
Well, absolutely. And it's only lonely right now. You know, once things take a hold, and I know you know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about out there, I'll just say it's the Great Awakening. There's going to be more people that will come around to this. It's still very new. It's very difficult for people to process. But there is a group out there, and, you know, and I like to consider myself one of them, which is why I have Lightworkers Unite over my shoulder, because it's something that we need to start doing, is looking out for others. We've lost this sense of community, and I've found people like yourself and others that are a part of this community and still value that. So it's out there, but it'll take time. It's going to take time for everybody to come around, you know?
Yeah. And that's why I wrote Awaken the Higher Self, Bringing Darkness to Light. It's meant to elicit awakening on a global scale, because, you know, we all deal with some sort of dark influence at some point or in our day-to-day lives. And when we can put things into perspective and have the higher knowledge in identifying that and protecting ourselves, and also, you know, making sure that we are always in a state of, you know, filling our energy and our aura and our chakras and our different bodies with light, then we can keep that dark energy at bay, you know, because we have our spiritual body, our mental body, our emotional body, and our physical body, and they're all interconnected. And when one is affected, you know, the others can be affected. And so it's really important to stay balanced, and every day is a new day. And, you know, that's why it's a journey, not a destination. It's about taking it one day at a time and being in a state of gratitude and not judging others and not jumping to conclusions, and having compassion and honoring everybody's free will to have their success and opportunities and good things around them, because it's a pretty big universe, and there's room for all of us to, you know, your dreams and your desires, those are God-given. They reside in the spirit, which resides in the heart center and the solar plexus chakra and the throat chakra. And, you know, our spirit has its own mind, the spiritual mind, which resides there. And so when you have those dreams and those desires and you do awaken, everything falls into place. And it's beautiful to just be able to honor yourself and love yourself and honor those dreams and those desires, because, having a high vibration and having that love, and it directly affects everybody else, because you're putting that out there, and everything is connected through the consciousness field, and everything is information, and everything is energy. And when we're emitting, we're constantly emitting information into the field, and what we think is made of electrical energy, and what we feel is made of magnetic energy. So in a sense, what you're really doing is you're putting out that energy, and when it's elevated with emotion, then it's magnified, and that's how it comes back to you multiplied. We're constantly in mode of creation. We're constantly creating, and when we start to play the victim, or we perceive that someone did something and we're hurt or offended, then you're right back in that victim mentality and that mode, and in that state of being, then you're separated. You're living in the past. You're dwelling on things that don't really exist. It's all really just an illusion. And when you can put that into perspective, then you can honor your creative being and your creative abilities, and be connected to the map of the future, and be in a and not be in a past present, but be more in like a future present, be in the moment. That's why I love yoga so much, is because I am able to, it's the poses are really beautiful. It's a form of channeling energy, but it's also about practicing at least for an hour a day to learn to be in the present moment, and to, release any toxins from your body. It's just, it's very good to for your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical being. And I wish everybody could do yoga. I'm like, sign me up.
Right. Now that we're talking about that, I want to ask, one thing I wanted to ask you is, now finding this clarity inside of yourself with this future present. When you go on investigations now to encounter entities, does it help for you to be able to engage them a little bit more, or do you find that let's put it this way, do you find that you get more contact with entities now than you did before when you go on an investigation?
Yeah, well, it depends on what kind they are.
Right.
Okay, so here's the cool thing, is that, we all have all of us, our energies is different, a little bit different. And, it has its own signature. And I find that now through the years of investigating, that people are make contact with different spirits and different beings and different energies, whereas someone else does not, because they're intelligent. They know what's going on, and if it's not residual and it really is intelligent and active, then it's going to choose if it wants to communicate with you or not. So I always like to go in to these situations and these investigations, and the first thing that's very important is to just have the utmost respect. Even if you're not on the same side, especially in residential cases, you go and you walk in with certitude, authority, and respect. At some point, this, and again, with residential cases and as paranormal investigators, we all have different ways of doing things as well. And so it's really important to respect that. But yeah, I mean, a perfect example is, when you're on an investigation and you go around and with a digital recorder and everybody asks the same question, you'll find that, where one person might get a response, the other person does not get a response. Just being, if, for example, I'm sure owners of these haunted locations, they know exactly, they see this every day, where different types of people will come in Some people will be attacked where other people won't be attacked. If you're in antagonizing, or if you come in with respect, I think it's just it's a big deal. And your energy and what your intentions are. They can hear, they can see what you're thinking, and they can see everything about you, and they know who you are, and they know what you're thinking. It's like going back to what I was explaining before. When you're in that state of being, you just have this general understanding and awareness, a telepathic ESP sense of being. There's no having to, speak or explain everything. It's just there. It's in the field. It's all just there. And they know your intentions. So it's all about intention, and it's all about your level of respect and compassion and understanding. We actually have what I've learned is like cords, heart cords, vibrational energy. So it's like heartstrings, heart cords. And the more heart cords you have, the more higher you vibrate, the more trusted you can be, the more light being that you are, or connected to spirit. And, have you ever like walked into a room, or you get around somebody and you just get this really weird feeling like something's really off, and you're like, I want to run for the hills. Like, I can tell something's really, really not good, and I don't, trust this person. It's not because, again, we're all here to have that spiritual growth, but at certain points in our being, you could have like 1 or 2 or 3 heartstrings. You're someone that steals, someone that's constantly lying, somebody that doesn't, maybe a murderer. I mean, there's all sorts of different things, and all of these things are reflective on the amount of heartstrings that we grow while we're here in a body. And so they can sense and hear that vibrational energy and the amount of heart cords that a person may have as well.
That's I think you're right on the money with that. I mean, that's just phenomenal too. This is a question I ask everybody that has somewhat of paranormal experiences. How do you, I mean, want to word it properly. How do you feel that these entities come back to us so we can investigate them? What is there a motive? How does it happen? Do they pierce a veil? Something like that. In that sense, what is their either reasoning for coming back, or how do they come back, or why? Pretty much all of it. Who, what, where, why, pretty much. But
well, there's information and understanding that we do know from experience. There's also information and knowledge that we truly don't fully comprehend or know. But what I will tell you is this, is that when someone passes away, if they still have lower attachments or lower vibrational energy from an experience that had caused spirit fragmentation, or any type of extreme negative situation, then that lower attachment will keep them here in the 3rd dimension, in the spiritual plane. And that's where a lot of times we'll see stuck spirits, and even like innocent spirits, like a child, like it was a traumatic death. It's that experience, that difficult experience, that keeps them here. Mm-hmm. So if someone was murdered, that's very traumatic, where they may be confused, or they may not fully understand, or they may not realize. I don't know. Because I've not been literally in that position, that they may not realize that they may think they're still alive, and or they may not know how to move on. They're not at peace. There's some sort of fear. Anything that is fear-based is lower vibrational. And so, anger, confusion, anything that's not a higher vibrational and being just scared, being, you know, in a place where you just cannot move on and you need help, either through forgiveness and the light of Christ. All truth and healing comes by the light of Christ. So a lot of times these stuck spirits, they just need the knowledge, and because they still have their free will, they just need that knowledge in order to move on and move forward and let go of that lower attachment through the forgiveness process, and or through just letting go and allowing that light to come in and heal that and be at peace with it and forgive themselves or others involved. And it may not even be a situation where but it's a form of burden, and a lower attachment burden that keeps them here. Other times you'll see, you know, a spirit that's moved on, but they'll come back either momentarily or briefly in order to make contact with a loved one or bring them peace, or just because they would like to, and then they go back and they continue on. They can come back momentarily, but most of the time, you know, when we're on paranormal investigations, if it's not residual energy from any type of evidence that's captured, then, you know, if it is intelligent, then that spirit, we can communicate with that spirit and give them information that they may appreciate. And even if they choose to stay, you know, they may find some peace in that, and knowing what we're able to give them. And I think as investigators, that all of us can really come together and agree that and as light workers as well, that's why we do the work that we do, is we're just trying to understand and help as well, and come together and be unified and begin to make a difference.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the great things about, when people come on. I have a lot of, on this specific Saturday nights, we do a lot of paranormal stuff too, a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that fascinates me to no end is the EVP, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh man. Like I had on the first episode on this specific network, we had somebody who did it like the old style, like a European style, where they use the white noise and it kind of goes through. It's a little bit different. What's the craziest thing you've heard on an EVP? Off the top of your head.
Yeah,
I know it's a pretty straightforward question, but sorry, but
oh, that's great. No, I love it. I like straightforward questions, so that's perfect. All the locations that I've been, there's one EVP that really stands out, not only because it was a clear Class A, but also because of the events surrounding it. And in the specific room where the EVP was captured, and for those listening, an EVP is an electronic voice phenomenon, and those are captured via digital recorder. What investigators use these days are digital recorders. So now, it was in a room where there had been a traumatic murder. A little boy who was disfigured. His father had actually, he tried to come. It was during a time where the house was a brothel, and he tried to come down, and his dad was not happy about it, and it just turned really bad really quickly, and he strangled him and murdered his own son in cold blood. And I know these types of this information is really difficult. These things that happen, as the investigators, now we have to go through and learn these things, and I think that drives us even more in order to help, because they just, they're, but for me, I respect haunted locations as well. I don't go in and do cleansings without permission, but you can still bring your energy, and you can still tell them that it's okay and help them to at least, find that peace as well. I think even them just knowing that someone's giving them recognition for what they went through is really makes a huge difference. So, but it was in that room earlier in the day, there was a child apparition that was caught walking across that specific room. And then as we were investigating in that room, a couple of hours later, there was this intense cold spot. And so we pulled out the digital recorder, and a little boy's voice came through and said, "It hurts, I can't move."
That's got to be something else.
It was really emotional. I had this wave of energy come through me. I got very emotional. And it was something I will never forget.
It strikes me as I don't know what the emotion is. It's kind of like, when you go into these places, that there's such dark things that happen in these places. And as an investigator, you expect it, because 9 times out of 10, that's part of the reason why you're there, is because something dark happened. There's entities around. And, it shows such an evil in like the actions of actual humans that it's just incredible. If you like, when I go through, like, if I right now, what I'm doing is I've never actually been on a straight investigation. What I do is I'm researching histories of these places that are like super, super, like they get super activity in, and you go down the line, and 9 times out of 10, it's like, some of the history is just horrific. You're like, holy cow, like, why is, it's a wild thing. And walking into these places, I'm sure that you feel that somber type of, like, just, I can't even like describe it, like a heavy in the room. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
to me, that's just it. That's got to be something like out of this world. It's just
right. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and you can feel when there's dark energy around, or a devil. I specifically can feel the difference in demonic presence as well. A part of my awakening and learning who I am, I went through a period where I was told to fast, and I did. And during that period, I fasted for about 4 days, and then I was just given a bigger picture, and that has helped me understand exactly why I'm doing the work that I'm doing. And it's awesome, but at the same time, again, it's a lot of responsibility. It's not just for anybody to go out and do. I've also been told by others who have psychic mediums and or people who are owners of haunted locations, who have heard different voices come through on the camera audio talking about me. And then specifically a person who I had was in process of helping as well, who was possessed, telling me about things that they saw around me. And so there's a lot of different witnesses. And part of what I go into in my book, Awaken the Higher Self, Bringing Darkness to Light, is there's, the law of witnesses. When there's truth in something, or there's information that the universe is trying to give us in order to as a witness, in order to substantiate or help us in a specific direction on what we're supposed to do, then that is where we will find a witness of 2 or 3 by the law of witnesses. So, I mean, I have had somebody tell me that they saw yellow around me, like my aura. And this was right after I had been in direct battle helping a case of possession. I've been told by a person that was in a state of being that I was lit up like a Christmas tree. And then I've also been told that that I'm protected. You can't touch her. She's protected. These are all just, witnesses, but from what I've been told directly, and been shown directly and who I am and the work that I do and people will ask, well, how do you protect yourself? I am protected. I'm foreordained, and I have a specific mission that I'm here to do. And I've learned also to just speak my truth and not worry about, and everybody should just not worry about what others think. When you know your truth, stand strong in who you are. And that's a beautiful gift to have, because no matter what you do, there's always going to be, some sort of opposition or opinions about it. So, all I know is that, these people that I have helped, they are, testimony and witnesses to, the help that I've given and the way that I've been able to help them. And it has been effective, and I have helped them. That's all that matters to me, is truly being able to help in this capacity. And so, you go in and you deal with these dark forces. Again, it's just become like a coined thing in the paranormal. Not everything that's dark is demonic. Well, yeah, no kidding.
Right.
There's a lot of different types of things going on. But when you are dealing with a demonic force, you should really only be, not everybody should be dealing with something like that. And it is serious. And, you've got to take all precaution and safety. But I thrive in the face of demonic forces. That's where I am most in my element and true to who I am and my spiritual DNA. And so I have known for a while, and now Possession Files has been born. I actually wrote the show treatment earlier this year, in January, and it's progressed, and I've ended up forming a team, and we've gone through a few cycles, and I think now I'm starting to get a really strong core team in place that's going to truly be able to, come together cohesively and successfully take on these cases. And so, I'm going at it very pragmatically, but also following, the higher guidance and intuition that's necessary involved in this type of work. And it's also about sending that darkness back to the light that still has the opportunity to do so.
Right. You sound like you're the sword of Michael facing demonic. You are the actual sword. I was actually by others given 2 missions. It's crazy, but my one mission is to use this platform to highlight people like yourself with the light in them and spread this message. My other mission I can't really talk about on air because it's still in the work. And when it comes time, you'll know, when it's all going through. But I can tell you off air, but I can't spread that mission just yet. I'll put it like this. I was told to help somebody specific, and in that time frame, we're going to uncover things that literally should be coming to light and saving a lot of people in turn. Another thing that I've been studying too is that the ley lines right now have a lot of activity with UFO, Bigfoot, and spiritual hauntings. Whenever that's happened before, it means that something tremendous is coming. We know what it is. I'm not going to say it here because it has to do with the Great Awakening, but I believe it's sort of an opposition to that, and something big is coming. And I can say that with a definity,
100%. I can 100% say in support of what you just said that something big, it's escalating. I received messages in hypnagogic state of consciousness, and on August 28th, 2020. And if you add those numbers together, you get the master number 22. But It was loud and clear, and it was so crazy. I was like, I immediately jumped out of bed and came down to my office to write it down so that I would write it exactly how it was said. But the words were, a new devil cast the old devil down for a... You sound like you're listening to music. I love it. Yeah, no, it's
Me? No, I'm not listening to music.
you were jamming for a second.
No, I'm just like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're saying.
A new devil cast the old devil down for a new revelation and an end. And I reached out to only 2 people after that, and one of them was my mother. She's, she's very, let's just say that it would, if you knew who she was, it would make sense of why she's my mother in this lifetime. But I said, what in the world? Well, a few days before that, she had come across something in scriptures that she had never, and she's read the King James Version Bible front to back, and I will tell you, hundreds plus time. She's avid into reading the scriptures and understanding. And what she's told me is that for her, and I've experienced this as well, so I can relate, in that reading a scripture at different time, it all of a sudden, like the new information is like revealed out of it. Whereas like when you had read it before, it may not have come out and been shown to you in that way. And that makes a lot of sense. But she had read something directly in line with that. And she said, yes, there is a greater evil. And then she sent me the scripture, which was in Revelation. And I was just blown away. I said, and knowing that nothing is coincidence, I'm like, so you were shown this, a few days before this happened to me. And, and it had like really just amazed her so much that she had, even like shown my stepdad and said, well, wow, like but it makes sense. And, the point in that is that things are, what I came to the conclusion on is that what it really means is that things are really about to escalate. These unseen forces, like I said, just because we cannot see them, they're very real. And we really are in a state of spiritual warfare. And we've got to protect our energy, but it's not just from these dark unseen forces. There's other things going on in this world that
there's a human component to it too.
A human component that they're working directly with. And I know like a lot of people have heard about, this trafficking and the satanic rituals and all of that go on with that. That's just a small piece of the puzzle here. It's really unnerving, and it needs to be exposed, and it needs to be dealt with. But it is a part of this warfare that we're in. We're getting it not only on the human component side of it, like you said, but it ties directly in with that spiritual warfare. That's what's really going to be important in this Great Awakening, is that all it's going to require is 1% of the population to awaken in order to continue to change the course of the future to a better world and not to a darker world.
Well, absolutely. And it's funny you say that too, because, I was looking into things and I saw something on the ley lines and I'm like, okay, great. Like I wouldn't pay attention to it. Then I was researching something else and came back to it again. And I said, all right, great. Did it again, a third time on a totally different subject. So that's when I was like, okay, well, and I'm not psychic. I'm not intuitive in any way like that. I dream and things like that. There's like a bunch of little things that I can do, but not in a, personified way like some people do. So I finally sat down and read it. And when I read it, it was what I was supposed to be reading at that moment. I could just tell it was incredibly crazy. And it's funny because I do like a lot of astrology stuff. I do a lot of astronomy, and it sort of has a resonance in that as well. So I don't know why I neglected it at first. I think in my subconscious, I was like, I don't want to see it because I knew I was going to find something. But then before that, with the other person that I'm going to be helping, it has to do with the human component. It's not so much
Yeah.
the spiritual, it's the human side.
Yeah.
And it was just, I had just talked to this person on like a Facebook phone call, and immediately it was like a message sent through my brain, like, you're supposed to help this person, whatever
Mhm.
they need, whatever needs to be done. That's the path you're following. And it was like, okay, like, all right, I get it. I get it. Like, it was just so crazy. It's like, no, I'm not normally like that. So to
Right.
me, it was like, oh, okay, all right. Like, it was just, it was wild. It was wild.
Yeah.
But that's part of the Great Awakening. I've come
Mhm.
on this spiritual journey up to this point to receive that. You know, it took work to get there. And I
Mhm.
had to find and get right with my creator to make that happen first, which is actually the first step of me getting to those messages. So,
Yeah. And you just had that sense of knowing in that moment. And I think that's what's really, really neat, to be able to listen to your intuition, which is really listening to your spiritual mind and being connected to
well,
that. So
yeah, I mean, and that's the thing I preach on every episode is if you eat a lot of foods that are over the counter foods, non-organic, you don't eat your vegetables, you don't drink a lot of water, your pineal gland is completely calcified.
calcified. Yeah.
Yep. So what you got to do is you got to go look up on how to decalcify your pineal gland. What I use is nascent iodine. Nascent iodine is a rare earth crystal that's found in the mountains of China. And what they do is they dig it up. I think it's like 4,000 or 5,000 feet. It's deep in the earth, inside of the mountains. You know, if you go to the top of the mountain and dig 4,000 feet down, that's where it is. It's at the core of the mountains. They grind it up. They turn it into a dropper. You put it under your tongue. And when I tell you, I felt absolutely stupid for 2 weeks. I mean, stupid. Like, didn't know what was going on. I'd lose myself in thought. But I'm telling you, after that second week, it was like the lights came on. I could see
Interesting.
the 10 steps ahead. My research is so much more fluid. I
Oh
know
yeah.
where I'm going with things. It's just incredible. It's incredible. And
Yeah.
what I'm
No,
working. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say it's, yeah, the pineal gland is the direct connection to be able to travel at the speed of thought and remote view and be at any point in the consciousness field at any given.
Right. Well, this is a place where we don't talk about politics, so I'm not going to say it here. But if you are into the political realm, on my YouTube channel, I will be releasing one day before the election a breakdown of how this election coincides with the spiritual, but also the human sides of it as well. So if you want the information before you walk into that voting booth, go to my channel. But I'm not going
That's
to describe it
incredible.
here because this is not the place to do that on this channel. We don't do that stuff. But I
Yeah.
just want to let that be known. You know, I want to let people know that they can find, and this is all vetted information that I've gone to 3, 4, 5 sources to find. So it's factual in every way, shape, or form.
Right.
But why don't we start talking about Texas Paracon a little bit? Because I want to make sure we get into the whole spectrum of what's going to be happening, all the things that you have. While we're talking about it, I'm going to put up the banner. So that's not it. So everybody can know where to go to purchase tickets. You if you want to be a vendor, you know, all that stuff. So go ahead. I'll let you go right into all of it. I know you guys have all the stuff to talk about.
Well, I was just minding my business one Sunday morning around May, and I had a download that was Start Texas Paracon. It was just so random. It was so random. And I thought, okay,
Those are the best ones, though. You're like, what?
Start an event called Texas Paracon. So I just hit the ground running with it. And it's been a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat. I don't know, maybe a little bit of tears, but not really, maybe happy tears. But
it's not here yet, so don't say that because it's not here yet. So we don't want the tears. All smiles, all sunshine and rainbows. Don't go down that way yet.
But it's here in the first annual is here in Dallas, and it's going to be at the Dallas Convention Center August 13th through 14th, 2021. There's incredible talent that are going to be gracing us with their presence. The talent lineup is not even finished yet. In fact, there's quite a really big bombshell of talent coming through pretty soon. But right now, we have some really great talent joining us. We've got the Holzer Files, season 2 of Holzer Files. The Holzer Files is premiering October 29th on the Travel Channel. Make sure that you check that out. So we've got Shane Pittman, Cindy Kaza, and Dave Schrader. And the actual event is going to be in an exhibit hall, and then there's also going to be a main arena stage. So in the exhibit hall, that is a 100,000 square foot area.
Man,
so
it's a big area.
Room for about 200 vendors. If you are interested in becoming a vendor, please go to the website and fill out the vendor application before they fill up. When you fill out the application, it will allow me to see what your business, your brand, your paranormal team, and I'll be able to approve that. And then once it's approved, then you'll be emailed the link to be able to reserve the booth. The booth comes with 2 ghost hunter passes, which is a $300 value in itself. So the booth basically pays for itself for those 2 days. If you're already planning on going, you should definitely get your team together and grab a booth, because you'll be able to sell your paranormal team merchandise, your brand business merchandise. And so it's just going to be really neat to be able for all of us to share in that experience together. In the exhibit hall, there's also going to be 3 secondary stages. One of the stages is going to be graced by the Odyssey Files radio with Michael O'Neill and David Swearing. Both of them I consider friends and respected paranormal colleagues in the field. They're awesome. If you haven't heard their radio show, you should check it out. They really go into research in areas of the paranormal that go above and beyond what we normally experience from day to day. And
incredible show. It's an incredible show.
Right?
It's sort of part of the reason why I do what I do now.
That's so cool. Oh
yeah,
my God.
and I was actually thinking about possibly purchasing a vendor booth, so Full Spectrum Universe might be down there as well. My sister lives right down the road, so
that would be amazing.
Yeah,
definitely do that, and maybe you'll end up right next to the Odyssey Files stage.
Yeah, there we go. Now we're working things out. I like it. It. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Mike and Dave are great. Check out the Odyssey Files radio if you haven't already. Another stage, we're going to have Paranormal Warehouse. Paranormal Warehouse is amazing. They've been so awesome. And also with Paranormal Warehouse, that stage is where we're going to have some of the talent Q&A panels as well. So it's going to be really cool. There's going to be action going on in the main arena stage with the lectures, the paranormal lectures, and the motivational lectures by all the different talent. And then at the same time, there might be different Q&A panels going on. So depending on what your interest is or where you want to be, you just have free reign of the entire exhibit hall and main arena stage. And then on the third stage is going to be G Crew, Nick Groff, Chad Lindbergh, Josh Hurd, and Johnny Hauser, and Mitch. If you haven't had an opportunity to see an episode of G Crew, definitely go check them out. They're very entertaining, amazing energy. I'm lucky to be able to, call all of them friends as well. And they're going to be interviewing different talent. Odyssey Files Radio will also be interviewing different talent. And then in the main arena stage is, again, it's actually stadium seating, and it's a huge arena. And so it's just going to be action packed the entire time. We've also got Dustin Perry. We've got the Farm on Round Top Road Conjuring House. that's going to be there with the Haunted Old Park Hotel and Haunted Hill House. They're
Wow.
going to be really
Wow.
kind of have a different light in that, because we'll be able to hear directly from the owners of these different haunted locations what it's like to own a haunted location and what they go through and what they see, you know, on a day-to-day basis. A whole different insight into all of that. So there's going to be a really neat author there. She's a near-death experience author. She's going to be speaking. She actually had this incredible experience. The name of the book is Angels in the OR. And she's going to be talking about her experience of, you know, what she was shown and what she was told, and then that she was to come back and share this message. And it really goes in line a lot with what we've talked about tonight. So I'm really looking forward to her. Her name is Trisha Barker. UFO Hunters of America is going to be there doing a really awesome panel. We're going to have mountain monsters on the cryptid end of things. So far, again, there's going to be more talent that's going to be coming on board. Dustin Perry, all of the House in Between. The amazing Kendall and Vera Welpton is part of the producers and behind the scenes camera ops. And then, of course, Steve Gonzalez and Brad Cooney and John Bullard will all be there to represent the House in Between. If you haven't already seen the House in Between, definitely check it out. That's one where I've heard, including myself, I actually watched it more than once, and I know a lot of other people that I've talked to have as well, because it's that good. The list goes on and on. Again, my hope and prayer is to have everybody in the paranormal field there. And the way that we can go about making sure that happens is just really getting the word out there, the exposure, and, you know, selling out this event. In 2019, actually, at the Dallas Convention Center was Alien Con, and that sold out 8,500 tickets. So that's kind of the same caliber that we're looking for here, and I have no doubts that we'll be able to succeed in that. And as it gets closer, I'm just going to keep, you know, reaching out and making sure that everybody has the opportunity to be able to come and join in this experience. My only hope at the end of the day in all of this is that every single person that comes through there has an elevated experience, and they leave with a newfound appreciation or something that happened that was life-changing for them. And just for everybody to come in and have just an incredible experience together, I think, is all that we could really hope and ask for.
It sounds super incredible. There's so many people already, and I'm sure there's more to be announced as well as time goes on and we get closer. I mean, that's a phenomenal, it's going to be a phenomenal experience. And like you said, just going there and being able to interact with all these different people, not only will you make friends that you'll probably take into, you know, future endeavors, you'll also be able to pick the brains of some of the experts. And I'm sure there's going to be all different types of equipment there. And, you know, it's going to be fantastic. I'm super excited for it. If we don't become a vendor, which I really want to, we're definitely going to be there. So, I mean, Full Spectrum Universe will be in the house in one way or another. I'm kind of thinking more in a vendor role. We're going to have some merch that's going to appear there once we get there. Maybe a little bit of RU Media merch as well.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, being able to sell your merch pays for it in itself, right? So
absolutely. Well, not only that, promotion is everything. There's so much promotion there. There's so many people coming through there that anybody who is an upcoming brand will have the ability to expand tenfold by just, you know.
Yeah. Well, and all of the ghost hunters are going to be there as well. So Grant Wilson, Kristen Luman, Rochelle Stratton, Brian Murray, Daryl Marston, Mustafa Gadalori, and Brandon Alves. They're all going to be there as well. And again, like I said, anyone that you can think of, as long as I have a say so, they're going to end up being there. So we've also got the Wraith Chasers, Mike Goncalves, and Chris Smith. So I'm really excited to meet them as well. And the incredible J.W. Prather. He's renowned paranormal equipment builder and owner of IDC devices. Again, the list goes on. I try to remember. There's so many. So if I haven't said everybody, again, please go to texasparacon.com and look at the full lineup. You can also go to the merchandise shop. There's some really cool hoodies and leggings and all sorts of different apparel that you can buy right now. That's going to be perfect for the winter time coming up too, and a really cool coffee mug. And so also on the website are 4 different sponsorship levels. Even if you only want to do the level 1 sponsorship, anything helps to really get this thing, this event to be successful, where we all can join in on that experience and that fun. And, at some point we'll have an official sponsor. So if you are interested in becoming the Texas Paracon official sponsor, I have a official sponsorship package as well. That's actually more of like an investment opportunity. So anyways, that's basically all of what Texas Paracon is about. And I'm really excited, and I'm just, every day working hard to make sure that this is a successful event for everybody to come together and really have a great experience.
That truly is going to be great. I mean, you're gonna take away memories from a convention or event like this, and it's going to be lifetime memories that you're going to take with you all over the place. And like I said, you're going to meet people of like-mindedness, and that in itself is a gift. It truly is. It truly is. So here's the part of the show that we're debuting with you, and it's just random questions we're going to ask you. It's not about anything in particular. It's what comes to my head. So it's kind of like a quick draw thing. First question is, how do you take your coffee?
Yes. Well, you can't say the word coffee without getting me really excited, because I'm coffee obsessed. I'm like equally, well, I don't know, this is tough, but like yoga obsessed, coffee obsessed, and paranormal obsessed.
All good things. All good things.
Really up there for me. But I will tell you this, I usually drink my coffee with light cream and light sugar.
Awesome. Favorite ice cream?
Pistachio almond. Anything
wow.
green ice cream is really good.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Favorite yoga position?
Favorite yoga position is probably just going to be Savasana.
Have no idea what that is, but it sounds awesome. Yeah. Okay.
Well, Savasana is the in-between on all the poses, and it allows you to be in the present moment and let it go. Just let go. When I'm in hot yoga and it's 104 degrees and you're just, really trying to get to that place where you can breathe and be in the present moment, some of the poses really test the limits. And once you get out of that pose, being able to have the mental strength to just let it go and then be in the moment and continue forward to the next step is what's really rewarding for me. So I think that's why.
It's a good one. So next question, favorite outdoor activity?
I do love hiking.
Awesome. Favorite indoor activity?
Favorite indoor activity would be yoga, hot yoga, and drinking coffee and paranormal investigating.
Oh, there you go. It literally works for every question. Your favorite meal to eat at a fancy restaurant?
Yeah, you can never go wrong with a really nice steak. So I typically don't eat red meat, but I do like lobster as well.
Lobster is definitely a good one. I like steaks as well. Let's think of another question here. Let's think. Okay. Your favorite thing to eat for breakfast?
Nothing.
Nothing? Like a bacon, egg, and cheese just dripping with grease and nasty? Nothing?
With, for breakfast, I'll usually either just have a banana or some sort of fruit shake.
Nice.
But I'm really big on my coffee in the morning. And I usually do my yoga in the mornings as well. So I don't typically like to eat before yoga. So if I get out of yoga and I happen to, I'm really just a light breakfast person, all in all. Coffee.
Gotcha. Top
And
5 favorite movies.
Top 5?
Yeah, or 3, 10, whatever you got to do.
So let's just say this. Mark Wahlberg and Tom Cruise. So let's start with Fear.
Mm-hmm.
Four Brothers is a good one. Cocktail. Yeah, that's good. I do like Dirty Dancing, even though
Nobody puts Baby in the corner. That's a classic.
Nobody puts Baby in the corner. Mm-mm. And then, really anything 80s. I pretty much just listed a lot of 80s movies, didn't I?
You did. I'm surprised you didn't say The Breakfast Club after all that.
Right. So, and then I do like the movie The Craft. And again, like I will watch these like once a decade, each of these like once every decade, and then it's perfect because it's like you're watching it for the first time and you're like, oh yeah, I remember why I loved this movie.
Gotcha.
Anything Mark Wahlberg and anything Tom Cruise. I'll be honest with you. Mark Wahlberg is definitely in my top 3 of people to meet. So if you're out there and you know Mark Wahlberg, or you know of somebody that knows Mark Wahlberg, I would love to meet Mark Wahlberg. I am his #1 fan. It's true.
That means make it happen. If you know Mark Wahlberg, make it happen. Favorite color?
Black and purple are equal for me.
Awesome. This is like the lightning round, Yeah. I think that's I'm pretty much spent. That was all of them. That was all the ones I could think of. I got one. Juice or soda?
Juice or soda? Well, neither.
Water. You're a water person? Or coffee? So we go back to coffee?
So I like fruit and protein shakes, and then coffee and water. But with my water, I have this powder called Alka-C. It's like loaded with vitamin C and other stuff that's really good for your immune system. And I'll usually drink one of those in the morning before my big yoga water.
Nice. Yeah. I definitely love shakes. Me and my girlfriend, we actually do, when we have time, we have like a bullet. We make the actual fruit shakes. We get the frozen fruit, throw it all in there. Bananas are always essential in that. Love bananas.
Yeah, and I do love juices. I just don't typically ever like really. But my favorite juice would be cranberry juice, and then if I were to drink a soda, my favorite would be Diet Coke. There's something about like a really nice, refreshing Diet Coke. And I think a part of it is when I was younger, like my dad would always take me and my sister on a father-daughter date to the gas station and to get a soda. And he would always get Diet Coke. And so I would always just get a Diet Coke. And so I think I just, my taste buds got used to Diet Coke.
Well, absolutely. Tell us one thing that most people don't know about you.
Oh, one thing most people don't know about me.
This is an in-depth interview, I'm telling you.
It really is. One thing people do not know about me would be that, I don't know, maybe some people do know this about me, but I would do anything in my power to help another person.
Super awesome. Super awesome. It really is like, I try and I try and follow the same thing myself. It's very difficult sometimes, but as long as you try, you're never in the wrong
Mhm.
whenever you can. So, I mean, we've got about 12 minutes left. I'm going to let you pick a topic to talk about, something that maybe we haven't touched on, or, whatever you want to say to the people out there.
Yeah. Well, we could talk a little bit more about dark energy and the different types of dark energy and how it comes to affect certain people more than others.
Let's do it. Go ahead. I'll let you start.
Cool. So you've got your general dark influence, and then there are attachments, attachments to the point of possession, and also walk-ins. So sometimes in life, we go through really difficult experiences, and though it doesn't mean that it's bad or we're bad. It's just a part of life and a part of things that we have to deal with. But in these some of these experiences that can be extremely traumatic, it can cause spirit fragmentation. So the loss of a loved one, a car accident, even surgery, other really horrible things, such as, attempted murder, or, so, you can come up with a pretty good list of pretty severe things that some people have had to endure. And in that spirit fragmentation, there are these spiritual streamers that come off of the fragments, and though we cannot see them, they are very real. And that is where different energies can latch on to our spirit and have a more apparent effect on us. There are spirit attachments, there are devil attachments, and other different types of attachments from other unseen beings. And through these attachments, sometimes we can, for example, with spirit fragmentation, a part of the spirit may fragment but still stay close to the other spiritual matter. And so our inner self is only a portion of our entire spiritual package, our higher self, which it exists as a multidimensional, interdimensional being. And in that spirit fragmentation, in a part of healing from within, is to be able to release all type of, not only the dark beings, but the dark matter and other type of residual dark energy that it caused or brought with it. And releasing those, typically those are in the form of burdens as well. And when we're able to do that and transmute those beings or send them to the light, and then clear ourselves of the other dark residual energy, then you can replace it with light. But you have to be in a place where you're ready. Everything is about free will and honoring that free will. And, as a dark energy healing facilitator, the knowledge is there and sharing this, but the other person still has to be there to put in the work. This isn't a click your fingers and it's heal all and you're good to go for the rest of your life. This is a progression and a journey and a daily lifestyle in making sure that you're healing and you're protected. And the biggest part of all of this is forgiveness. And so, with that fragmentation and then clearing out your spiritual being, then you're able to retrieve those spirit fragments. There's small spirit fragments, and then there's those that have a personality of their own that can have an ego, and those are large spirit fragments. And retrieving them, the process is a little bit different for both, and I do go into that in my book as well, Awaken the Higher Self, Bringing Darkness to Light. And so it's similar to the way that a shaman does spirit fragment retrieval, but the way that I will have done it previously with my clients is to clear out the spirit fragments first, before bringing them and back together and reuniting them. And that helps in not having to deal with so much of a spiritual crisis once everything is brought back together. Whereas if you just retrieve the spirit fragments and put them back together while they're still sick per se, then you when you start to go through the healing, it can cause a little bit more of a spiritual crisis. Then general dark influence. I mean, we all deal with a general dark influence every day. I mean, and even when we go to sleep, we can, you know, pick up different energies and that sort of thing. So it's really important to stay balanced. Sometimes different life decisions, we can passively give permission for the darkness to creep in, where the light will retract, and it's just a natural part of what happens. And again, it's a learning experience. It's meant to go through these experiences. And when we have this knowledge, and then we're able to heal from within, then moving forward in awakening and understanding what's really going on around us, then we're able to handle these experiences in a different way, where we don't internalize the negativity when it happens, but we're able to work through it and work through it in a way where we're not internalizing any of the dark matter or negativity or lower vibrational energy from the experience. And so, you know, and then of course you have possession, and, you know, those who truly have what you would call demonic possession, or being possessed by a devil or a fallen angel, an enemy who fights in Satan's army. Again, these are all terms, one and for the same thing. You can get to the point where you can understand that sometimes it progresses quicker for some over others, but it can happen in stages, and it can happen slowly, or it can happen quite rapidly, depending on the severity of the fragmentation. I once had a case where a woman had an incubus attachment, and after really having her open up and tell me everything that had happened to her and the type of trauma, there was a lot of sexual trauma, and that went along with that, and the type of dark energy that can attach to a person is you'll typically see will specifically like to feed off of that type of energy or that type of fragmentation. So when you're able to identify exactly what you're dealing with, then you're able to then be able to, once you recognize what you're dealing with, then you can come up with the proper solution and remedy moving forward. If you don't know what you're dealing with, then you won't be able to truly help in that situation to a certain point. So it's really important to really identify exactly which type of entity you're dealing with in any situation, in any type of residential case as a paranormal investigator. And, you know, this is just basic information overview. There's a lot more in-depth information for each of these types of categories. And there's a way that we can bypass the human conscious and communicate directly with our spirit through kinesiology, which I go into detail. It's written in self-therapy format. I wrote the book in self-therapy format because I knew I was only one person, and there were so many people that need help, and we're all dealing with some sort of, again, even if you don't have to be possessed to have an attachment. There's actually people who have attachments and don't even realize that they have it, even if it's just a spiritual attachment or a spirit that came with you at birth. There's a lot of different layers here. And then you have walk-ins, and walk-ins are the momentarily being overtaken by some unseen force where you don't have complete control over yourself. So it's all very very interesting, but it's knowledge and higher knowledge that everybody should be able to understand in order to elicit their own awakening and take charge of their own salvation and start healing from within. And I think that it's just a really neat opportunity to be here with you tonight to be able to talk about all of these amazing things. And I just want to thank you again so much for having me.
Oh, it was absolutely amazing to have you here. And, you know, I hope you contact me regularly so we could talk about a lot of different things. I mean, we could help each other in our missions. I'm sure that you know that already. But tell everybody where they can find you. I've been putting it up on the screen as we've been going, but I want to make sure that you say if there's other places besides that. Also, go and purchase her book. It is incredible. But go ahead. I'll let you tell everybody where they can find you.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I've got a few different sites depending on what information you might be interested in. NatalieAnnJones.com, and Ann is with an E. And that goes into a little bit more written detail of who I am and the different projects that are going on. There's also links to all of my other websites and projects through that website as well. And then the Haunted Psychomanium is it's Ghost Hunter Girls Presents the Haunted Psychomanium. And that's going to be a museum that will be coming to Dallas soon, hopefully by no later than the end of next year. And you can go and check out that website at thehauntedpsychomanium.com. Right now, we're in process of doing a series called the Haunted Psychomanium Omnipresent, and that's with myself, Nicholas Bonani, and Richard Lale Lillard. And so then you can also go to the ghosthuntergirls.com to learn more about Ghost Hunter Girls. That is a paranormal team that I founded and created. And awakenthehigherself.com is if you would like a personalized autographed copy of my book, you can go to that website and order it there. It's also available for purchase on the publisher's website, which is bmkpublishingusa.com. BMK Publishing is the publisher. And then you can also purchase Awaken the Higher Self, Bringing Darkness to Light on Amazon as well. And so, yeah, I think that pretty much covers. And then, of course, TexasParacon.com. Get your tickets.
Bam. There it is on the bottom of the screen.
Sponsor us.
See how I do that? Yeah, absolutely. Everybody support her. I mean, Natalie is truly amazing. She wears so many hats in the paranormal field. She's what you call a paranormal eclectic. She touches on everything, you know, and it's really, really phenomenal. And Natalie, it's been an honor to have you here. I truly enjoyed this episode. It's one of my favorite. I hope you come back and visit us. You're always more than welcome to come on.
Thank
no
you.
No matter who's coming. We had a great time. So thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. I just want to say, please go to youtube.com/Full Spectrum Universe. Please subscribe, like, and share all the episodes. We have something for everybody, from political to paranormal, and everything in between. And we also have Full Spectrum University Facebook group. So if you like what you heard here, we do articles and a bunch of different shows that highlight everything that we've discussed. So go there and join that. If you have any questions about anything, you can always find me on Facebook, Rob Yox. Other than that, I'm going to let you take us out on the last words, Natalie, and then we'll talk to you soon, guys.
Yeah. Again, thank you so much for having me. Everybody have a beautiful, blessed remainder of your weekend, and hopefully I'll be back here on Full Spectrum Universe very soon. So yeah, and also if you would like to learn more about the UFO side of things, I am COO and Texas State Director for UFO Hunters of America. Please get your annual membership and support UFO Hunters of America and our mission. And you can learn more about that by going to ufohuntersofamerica.org. And I hope to be back soon. Thank you again.
TexasParacon.com.